Tonight on Kitchen All Over the World, I'm going to try to make Hoentay. It's a cheesy buckwheat dumpling thing from Bhutan. Join me. So if there's one thing I've learned in my research of this topic, there's three things that the Bhutanese love the most, and that is cheese, chili, butter, not necessarily in that order, and you'll see why in a second. So let's go ahead and coat the bottom of our pan with some vegetable oil. About a centimeter will do depending on the size of your pan. We're starting with the filling of these lovely dumplings, and this is over a medium flame. And boom, we're throwing in some butter right off the bat. A whole stick of butter in some oil, because, you know, fat on fat, you know, and then we're gonna throw some cheese in there later. So now that our butter is melted and it's looking a little brown, I'm gonna turn off the heat and let's let that cool down a little bit before we proceed. We don't wanna burn our ingredients. All right, now that we're nice and cool, I'm gonna throw in about 5 cloves of minced garlic. This is about a tablespoon of minced ginger. Smells so good right now. Next up, I've got some shredded Gruyere. Normally you'd use some Bhutanese yak cheese, and it's literally impossible to get it in my home country of the US. So we're gonna put in about a cup of this cheese, maybe a little bit more, 1.25 cups. And to make that a little bit meltier, I'm gonna throw in, this is queso fresco, and I'm gonna add in, I don't know, what is that, 150 grams? I'm gonna throw in 1 diced red onion, or at least you're supposed to use red onion. I'm using yellow onion. Next up, I've got like 1/2 cup of perilla seeds ground up. If you have a Korean grocery store in your area, look for this little label right here. Tulke garu. Tulke is perilla seeds and garu is powder. Next up, I've got 1/2 cup of just chili powder. This is, I'm using the Korean variety again, just because that's what you have in the area. It's called gochugaru, if you're looking for that. And yes, that is a lot of chili powder. Like I said, they like their chilies. And finally, I've got about 3 cups of grated turnip. That's 3 small turnips. They kind of smell like a mix between a radish and a horseradish. So let's give this a good stir. Make sure that the cheese is coating all of that turnip. And that's it for the filling. So now let's create the wrapper for these guys. Hoentay are a buckwheat dumpling, so I'm using some buckwheat flour. This is 1 cup. Fortunately, but also unfortunately, buckwheat has no gluten. So if you want to use buckwheat, we have to add a binding agent. In this case, we're using wheat flour. I'm sure there's a crazy multi-step process for creating gluten-free buckwheat noodles. So this is some boiling water. I'm gonna slowly add about 1 cup. You wanna add it slowly so that you can see how it's coming together. If you add too much water, then you'll have to add more flour, and then you end up with way more dough than you wanted in the first place. When it reaches about this stage, I like to start with my hand, because there's a lot of trapped moisture in that flour that doesn't really show itself at first. So you start out with what looks like very dry dough, and then it'll gradually become a lot wetter than you thought it was. All right, that looks good. Got some dough. All right, so I got my dough, I got my filling, and this is an interesting process for making these guys. I'm just gonna rip off a little bit of dough, about the same amount as you normally use for a similar sized dumpling, I guess. And we're gonna make sort of a cup by wrapping it around our finger. You can also, I think you're supposed to make a ball first. And sort of press it out. You're kind of making pottery here. Thin the edges, and this is kind of crumbly, so you wanna be careful that there are no cracks. Don't make it too thin, or I don't think it'll hold together quite well. Okay, we got a little cup. Take a little bit of the filling and now we're gonna sort of make almost a gyoza kind of shape, half moon. So just start with one end and pinch and fold and pinch and fold and keep going and stuff it in as you go. Warning that oil is covered in chili powder, so wash your hands and don't rub your eyes. And I mean, that's kind of rudimentary, but that's the gist. Let's go in for a second one, see if we do better. All right, I've got some water on a boil. I've got my steamer basket with my little dumplings in there, so I'm gonna put that right on top, cover it up. And since there's no meat or anything in there, I'm gonna put them on for about 7 minutes or so. See how they do after that. All right, while those dumplings are dumplinging away, I'm gonna make a little side, which is sort of Bhutan's national dish, and it's basically chili con queso. That's right. Bhutanese chili con queso. I'm okay with that. So let's start with some oil in a pan over medium heat. And of course, we're gonna add some butter because why not? All right, I've got a couple cloves of minced up garlic going in there, as well as a sliced up half of another onion. Got a sliced up tomato I'm gonna throw in. Oh, this is called Ema Datshi, which roughly translates to Chiles cheese, something like that. And the namesake of the dish is Chiles. Yes, that's right. Prepare your butthole, because it's gonna burn tomorrow. That is 4 long green chilies and 3 little baby Thai chilies that I'm gonna throw right in there. And you may think I'm crazy, but all the recipes I've seen, these guys do not cut the seeds out of the peppers. I don't know if it's just Western recipes that call for that, because supposedly it lowers the heat a little bit, but whatever. Let's see what happens. Toss those guys in there and let them start to get a little bit soft. All right, now that the chilies are softened up a little bit, you guessed it, it's time for more cheese. So I've got another cup of that Gruyere, and another 150 grams or so of the queso fresco. I'm gonna break it up a little bit this time so it melts a little bit easier. And that's good to go. I got my cheese, I got my chilies, I got my dumplings, I got my red rice. So this is that red rice that is the only import to the States. So I'll just start out with that. It's kind of halfway between white rice and brown rice, if that makes sense. It's got a distinct hull that really holds together, gives it a very rough kind of texture. Very nutty flavor. Let's get some of this cheese and chili together. Hopefully it's not just a massive face full of spice. So it's not as burny as I thought it would be. It is hitting me kind of in the back of the mouth right now, slow burn building up. But I'm wondering also if the casein, so there's 2 proteins in cheese. There's whey and there's casein. You know when you drink a glass of milk when you're eating something spicy and it cools it down? That's the casein that's doing that. So let me just try one of the little red chilies because I know that those are very spicy. And yes, they're still spicy. Holy crap, that's a face full of spice. But the cheese mellows it out a little bit. A little bit. It's still, my face is gonna burn on fire. Next up, the dumplings. It'll stick into my teeth quite a bit. The filling, the turnip, has a nice bite to it. It's very, like I said, it's got a little bit of a horseradish kind of flavor to it, a little bit of a radish flavor. That paired with the buckwheat really kind of creates this real earthy, round kind of flavor. You got a lot of nuttiness as well as the sort of spiciness from the turnip. And I might not have put enough cheese because it's not really stringy like I've seen in the videos, but the flavor's there. And that chili powder doesn't go away. There's no escape from the fire in this plate.